and welcome to this super extra special episode of Prinsights Global. I am thrilled, delighted, and all the positive words to welcome back the legendary Rick Rule. And among other things, we'll get his insights, I'm sure, on everything that's happening in the natural resource and commodity space. But before that, a very important event is coming up around the corner. It is the 11th annual Rule Symposium, and it's going to be held in Boca Raton. And I want to talk to you, Rick, about some of the things we just talked about off camera, which is just how much attendance is already accumulating, because I think everyone listening here should be going.
Yeah, compared to last year at this time, last year's registration at this time, we're up about 150%. That makes some sense. Everybody who attended last year had a very good experience. So the re-enrollment was very, very high. It also speaks, I think, to the fact that many of the things that we talked about last year, but in particular, the precious metals bull market, have rung true. And the consequence of that is that people who thought about coming last year but didn't realize their mistake, and they're coming this year. I think probably it also reflects the fact that rather than having to come necessarily to Boca Raton, probably 2,000 people this year will join the conference via live stream. Last year, we had online attendees from 33 countries. While I would prefer to have all of my friends in one room, taking in all of the nonverbal communication that happens from an in-person event, I understand that coming to Boca Raton is inconvenient or unaffordable for some people. Whether people attend online or in person, we give them, as you know, Nomi, 50 hours of highly valuable programming, more than you can absorb in 4 days. So we make the recordings of the entire proceeding available to people for a whole year.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And I just want to touch on something that you just said for people who are considering going. I will certainly be there, and thank you for having me back. It is the highlight of my year coming to this symposium. And you talked about friends, and I think that is so true, because unlike so many conferences out there, this really is a gathering of people that you know, of miners that you know, of investors that you know, and therefore they actually have the opportunity to befriend and create relationships with each other, which is very unique. Can you address that a bit?
Well, yeah, you're a great example. I remember having many of my attendees say, you're really missing the boat not having Nomi Prinz. I didn't know you, but a whole bunch of folks who were friends of mine who wanted the best for me told me that I had to bring you there. They did it in my interest and in their own interest too. You came. Too many speakers, Nomi, when they come to a conference, they're like hired guns. They come, they sit in their hotel room, they deliver their speech, they go back to the hotel room, and they leave. You went from booth to booth. You listened to everybody's talks. Let's just say that you were not afraid to frequent the bar. You came on the boat cruise with the attendees and the exhibitors, and you even became a director of one of the exhibitors. That's exactly what we want. We don't want hired guns. The other thing, Nomi, in particular, that's helpful, that our attendees tell us is helpful, is when we have macro thinkers, we don't have a unifying theme. We don't tell people where they fit in our speakers roster. We ask people like you to address our people where they are, to give them macro information that they wouldn't get from CBS or CBC. And we always have speakers like yourself from the belly of the beast. We don't want somebody describing Wall Street from the perspective of a failed journalist. We want somebody who worked on Wall Street describing Wall Street. When we have Daniela DiMartino Booth, your friend, she doesn't talk about the Fed from the point of view of a journalist. She talks about the Fed from the point of view of a researcher at the Fed. And I think those are the differences. We allow the best speakers, and by the way, any speaker who doesn't appear in the top half of the attendees' questionnaires isn't invited back. They're thanked and excused. So we think it's important that our speakers be best of breed. And we think it's important that our speakers have enough interest that they interact with the exhibitors, the attendees, and other speakers. We're trying to foster precisely what you said, Nomi, which is a sense of community.
Yeah, and I think that is so important also with the mining community. I mean, it is a global community. And as you said, many people will be coming, many people will be able to fly in, and some people will not be. And you have an incredibly high-tech operation going there with respect to getting that 50 hours of material out to people who sign up but cannot attend in that manner. But also being there and walking across the rooms and the exhibitors and talking to people and being on the boat events and all of these things, they do really both increase community and also knowledge. It is such a rich space, commodities globally. And by talking to practitioners, all of whom you know, the insight that you can gather in those 4 days is really so valuable.
I think that's absolutely right. You point out that the conference has been going on for 11 years. In truth, I took the conference over from my joint venture partner, Agora, at that point in time. The conference has actually been going on for 30 years. And there is a core of attendees and a core of exhibitors that have been together for a very long time. So that sense of community that you describe is intact. One example will be that Wheaton Precious will be there this year. By now, closing in a $30 billion market cap company. The first time that they appeared at our conference, they were called Wheaton River, and their market cap was $30 million. Randy Smallwood has been with our conference since the beginning, and he's literally part of the community. And as you suggest, I would really, really like it for anybody who's able to come in person, because there's a lot of nonverbal communication. I had an email from an attendee about 8 years ago saying, Rick, to be able to follow Robert Friedland and then Ross Beatty through your exhibit floor and see what exhibits they stopped in front of, and even for a while eavesdrop on the questions they asked, was worth the cost of admission. I got the whole rest of the conference for free.
No, that's exactly true. That access is really incomparable when you go to conferences, and I do, and you do, go to under conferences around the country and around the world. The access, the connection that you can have to people in the field whom you would never have the ability to shake hands with and just look in the eye and understand what's going on in their sector, in their company, in the space. Again, it's incomparable. And you mentioned Wheaton, which yes, I mean they have grown, and we obviously cover and have watched the gold space, particularly this year, expand. And maybe you can even give some perspective, not just on them. You have a number of junior miners that come year after year, for example, in the gold space, in the uranium space, in copper, in silver, in rare earths. If you could just kind of give an overview for people that have never been to a real symposium, exactly the variety, the breadth that you put together there.
I would describe us, pardon me, as commodities agnostic. I do believe that we're in the early stages of a precious metals bull market. So it is easier for me to include precious metals companies. I should also mention, Nomi, that no exhibitor gets on my floor if the conference sponsors don't own the stock.
Right.
At every other investment conference in the world that I know of, the qualification to be an exhibitor is a pulse and a check that cashes in reverse order of importance. We turn down more exhibitors every year than we accept. Because my portfolio is precious metal centric, there's probably a predominance of precious metals companies relative to other commodities. But I'm a total sucker for a 10-bagger or a 20-bagger. And what that means is that other commodities that are out of favor, where the issuer in those commodities is sitting on something that could be a world-class deposit, 20 or 30 billion dollars in situ recoverable reserves and resources, and is out of favor, I want them on my floor.
Yes.
You're a director of one that, I believe, while there are risks, is insanely cheap. There's another rutile and graphite company, I don't know, 60, $70 million market cap, that I think has a chance to be a $4 or $5 billion market cap. So I'm attracted to very large deposits with reputable, knowledgeable teams in commodities that are out of favor, often in countries that are out of favor. I've been a beneficiary, Nomi, of the uranium business for a very long time. So it makes perfect sense that some of the uranium companies in my portfolio will be presenting there. I also believe that we are going to face significant fundamental shortages of copper in the next 5 or 6 years. So there's some superb copper exploration stories there. As I said at the beginning, I'm commodity agnostic, but I'm not value agnostic.
Yeah, and obviously following your track record again between the relationships, your time, your investments, and the fact I'm so glad you brought it up because the fact that that investment is happening in these companies before they're allowed to be on the floor is huge. You mentioned that's the only conference where that happens, and that's definitely true. But also for people who haven't been to this conference or investors who are on the fence about whether they should come this year because it is such a pivotal bull market year for commodities and precious metals. We talk a lot about gold and silver and copper and uranium here at Prinsights. The opportunity here is really tremendous to really follow your decades of experience and by connection, the decades of experience in all of the other investors that are involved in these companies. And that is absolutely huge. You mentioned you're agnostic, and if I could just move quickly onto, is there a particular sector that at this moment you mentioned rare earths is particularly of interest to you, or are you agnostic across this particular year as well? And it's really the entire gamut.
No, me, I think it depends on the investor. I'll just say it. I'm old and fat and rich. And one of the things that appeals to me is taking risks that other people aren't willing to take in return for insanely large gains. I'll speak on the podium about sensible investing, but I made all of the money that I invest sensibly with aggressive speculation. So I have to answer the question depending on who I'm talking to. For most of the audience that I'm talking to, for most Americans, precious metals are way, way, way underowned. And for reasons that you will talk about from the podium, debt deficits, the structure of America's fiscal regime, it appears to me that we're heading into something that resembles, in some senses, the decade of the 70s. Mm-hmm. And given that precious metals and precious metals related investments have a 0.5% market share in U.S. savings and investment assets, and most investors can't spell gold yet, probably the easiest focus will be there. I personally, in my own portfolio, am way long oil and gas. It's hated. It's a great business. I understand it very well. And part of my emphasis this year is going to be coming down the quality chain, up the speculative chain, to talk about deposits that, as we stated earlier, are in deposits that are in commodities that are out of favor, probably in countries that are out of favor, but where I think that there is legitimate 10-fold or 20-fold or 30-fold or 40-fold potential, albeit patience will be required, volatility will be present, and there is some real risk.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You do mention oil, natural gas, because there are certainly some particularly junior mining companies out there that are looking at really interesting new techniques in terms of drilling and AI and efficiency and environmental protection and everything all together. So it's not even the price, but it's also the how of it. And you have actually, and your group has put me in touch with some very interesting names in that sector. Before I just wrap up on this, I just want to tell everyone again who is watching right now, who knows who Rick is, who doesn't know, which you should. But that you really, if you're going to make one conference, if you've never made a conference before, this is the one to be at. This is the time to be at it. We do have a special link available here below this video for Prinsights members, which you can click, which you can follow, and for which you can get to this conference and be a participant. And it is a participant. It's not just an attendee in this evolving conference and with these people and get to see Rick. So please click on that right now. If you're on the fence, you know that you don't have to necessarily get there in person. You can also potentially see 50 hours of incredibly valuable information firsthand that you will not see anywhere else from the Rules Symposium. Rick, before I wrap up here, Can you talk about again why this year in particular, you've had this double attendance already. You may not even have seats available by the time we actually get to the conference. So it's important for people who want to come to click that link now and to participate. But given the environment, you talked a little bit about how people don't even a lot know how to spell gold. And it's true. Morgan Stanley just started telling their private clients to put more gold in their portfolio. Do you think that's going to accelerate?
I do. Uh, know me, unlike many of the people listening to this, I'm an old guy. I remember the decade of the 70s. I remember that in an absolute sense, not relative to other currencies, but in an absolute sense, the US dollar lost 75% of its purchasing power in 10 years. And I watched the gold price go up 30-fold. I'm not suggesting that the gold price is going to go up 30-fold. I'm suggesting that there is a probability that the gold price keeps pace with the deterioration of the purchasing power of the US dollar. Uh, Unlike saying that 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I don't have a time value of money concern. We're already in this gold bull market. You don't have to wait. It's here. That's the first thing. That's really important. The second thing is for all of the reasons that I've told you, but particularly the age of the franchise and the high quality of the attendees and speakers, this is a conference that's unusually topical. What we have been able to do, because we've put on the conference for 30 years, is something that no other conference sponsor does. Anybody who attends our conference, live or live stream, who doesn't feel like they got their money's worth, can get their money refunded 100%. No other conference I know of on the planet has an unconditional money back guarantee. The conference is high enough quality and has been high enough quality for years that in 30 years of offering undisputable money back guarantee, we've had to refund about 0.1% of the tuitions that we've charged. That notwithstanding, this unconditional money back guarantee is your guarantee that we are highly confident that this conference, is going to be a benefit to you and that you will feel and know that benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, everyone who's watching this, Rick's already talking about how, we're double this year for the conference relative to attendees last year. I can only imagine that number is going to increase, and this will be the best conference of the Rule Symposium series that we have ever seen. And if you have the chance to go anywhere this year and to go to any conference and you're at all involved or thinking about being involved in the precious metals or other commodity space, you have got to try to get to this one. So again, the link is below for you to sign up to attend. Rick, before I let you go, any final words? What do you hope people who do attend will walk away from with this year?
I think a few things. I think it's important that people have their worldview shaped not by the large scale media and financial media. I think it's very important that you take your information from people who have lived it, really, truly have lived it. I've talked to you a lot about the structure of Wall Street, and I'm a Wall Street beast myself. The difference between talking to somebody like yourself who lived Wall Street and somebody whose point of view was shaped in a leftist journalism school somewhere is night and day. It's just plain night and day. You have to be careful where you shop for information. The idea that every exhibitor is vetted. Listen, I've been in the resource markets for 50 years. I can tell you without qualification that 90% of the public listings worldwide in natural resources are non-viable. If you don't work hard in stock selection, you can be right in the strategy, wrong in the tactics, and still lose all your money. An investment in yourself and your own education is critical in terms of allocating your capital. And I think, in fairness, that if you are dealing with a conference sponsor that guarantees you financially satisfaction, that you have to assign some value to that. No other investment conference that I know of on the planet has an unconditional money back guarantee for the reasons that we just said. We're highly confident, and experience teaches us that we're going to give our attendees their money's worth.
And you do and beyond, and beyond. This is really the most incredible event in the space every year in the year. And I am just so happy to know you, Rick, and I am so happy that you did choose to have me keynote back in the day and to continue to do that because I learned so much. And I am so admiring of how you have connected to so many people in this space, persevere for you say 50 years, so you must have started when you were like a baby. Um, all of this time, and that you present that to everyone who attends. So again, everyone watching today, I encourage you to sign up for this conference. It is that important. It is the time to do that. Rick, thank you so much for joining us here at Prinsights, and I look forward to seeing you in Boca on July 7th.
Well, Nomi, thank you so much, first of all, for our friendship, but thank you too for your ongoing support, for your always placing easily in the best quartile of our speakers. We poll our attendees relentlessly, and you're always up there in the superstar category. So thank you for delivering for us.
I appreciate it. And everyone, thank you for tuning in to this episode, this special episode of Prinsights Global. And take a look at that link below to attend the World Symposium in Boca. Thank you.